so happy to be with you today. All right, so as I'm giving all these tax workshops, because it's the heat of tax season, you're all starting to prepare your documents and do the thing. I'm getting a lot of questions about estimated quarterly taxes. And of course, this makes sense because they're the hardest part about working for yourself, right? Staying on top of your tax payments throughout the year so that you don't face a giant tax bill is not just a little difficult to get your head around, but it is actually also the law. It is mandatory, and you pay penalties and interest if you don't do it. So it's something you have to learn if you are making money as a freelancer, if that is how you make your income, but it can be really hard. So today on the podcast, I want to bring you a big tip about how to get started if you haven't been paying quarterly taxes yet, and if you're facing that ugly scenario of owing a full tax bill for last year, but needing to get started with paying estimates so you get out of this hole. All right, so that's what we're going to do today. First, I have a little PSA for you, which is that I know you've heard me talk about the beneficial ownership information report. It is a filing that is required from the U.S. Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. It's based on a really good law called the Corporate Transparency Law. And the purpose of the law is actually to identify the beneficial owners of all companies, primarily LLCs and a few other entities, but all LLCs, so that they can't money launder and human traffic and sell weapons and drugs and children. Right? So it's a really good law. It's actually meant to make all LLCs come out into the light and not be able to operate and money launder and do financial crimes. Okay? So it's a good law. And here's the thing. What it requires is actually pretty simple. It's not a big burden, truly. It's just an information report. There's no tax due. It's an information report that says who you are and that you own this company or part of this company. Okay, that's it. That's the spirit of the law. So you're identifying the owner. Okay, so it's really quick and it's free. There's been a lot of back and forth and litigation. So there's lawsuits pending. And the law has been suspended, reinstated, suspended, reinstated. It's been a lot of, you'd be forgiven for having a sore neck from watching it go back and forth. Well, I just got notification late last week that, in fact, it's back on. Okay, so officially, the official word as of today's date, when you're listening to this podcast, it's early March, is that, in fact, the rule is reinstated. You do have to file the Beneficial Ownership Information Report, the BOIR, okay? It's mandatory again, but you know what? It's not that big a deal. It's not that hard, and I really recommend, although this could change yet again, if you just file the report, then you don't have to worry about staying on top of the legislation and watching the courts go back and forth, right? You can file it and you can know that you're safe from the $500 a day penalty if you don't have the filing done, or up to 2 years in prison, okay? So those are really big penalties. It's there to say, hey, you got to do this, okay? So now, because of a Texas federal court reinstating the law's back on, you have to do it. Your new deadline is March 21st. Little asterisk on that date. The Treasury reserved the right to change that deadline. So I suspect they wouldn't make it shorter. I'd suspect they might give a little more time. But for now, the new deadline is March 21st. So you have to file the BOI report. But I have good news for you. I made a very short little mini course that walks you through me doing this filing. And you can just open it in one tab, open the FinCEN website on the other tab, and literally screen by screen follow me doing it, and you do your report alongside me and just get it submitted. My little course is free, it's super short. You can get this done in 30 minutes, soup to nuts, okay? So if you want that free course, which now you have to do, now you have to do the filing. So if you want my guidance, you can get that at sunlighttax.com/LLC. I will put a link to that in the show notes, but just for easy memory, it's my website, sunlighttax.com/LLC. And that's because this law applies to all LLCs, especially little ones like you and me. Okay, with that out of the way, let's jump into quarterly taxes. All right. So the dreaded scenario, and I literally just had someone ask me this question in a workshop just this week. She was saying to me, hey, I'm realizing that I'm supposed to be paying quarterly, but I didn't know. And you know what, friends, there's no tax education in this country. Don't feel guilt over this. It really is not your fault. I'm here to try to teach you the rules and get you on top of the law so you stop paying penalties. But a lot of us don't learn these rules until we violate them. It's a sucky way to do it, but here we are. Okay, so this person was saying, hey, I'm realizing that I have to pay quarterly taxes, but I haven't been doing it yet. I don't really know how. I feel scared to start. And I owe a full tax bill from last year. So how do I get out of this mess? Okay, so that's what I want to help you with today. I want you, first of all, to understand that if you are in that position that I just described, that's the worst that it gets, right? That is the worst place. And taking action on it, it gets better from there, okay? So getting yourself out of this, I want you to picture what the wonderful scenario is, which is absolutely within your reach, and it is this. If you're paying quarterly taxes as you're supposed to, if you do get on top of it and you pay quarterly taxes in approximately the right amount, and approximate is the name of the game. We don't need exact. They're called estimates. So if you're paying your estimates roughly correctly throughout the year, then guess what happens at tax time? You have no tax bill. You don't owe a full year's worth of taxes. I don't know about you, but that is so freaking stressful. I have seen so many people go into tax debt, having to get onto IRS payment plans. It's really ugly when you're in that position. It does not feel good, and it's not supposed to be that way. Okay, so here's what you do. The good scenario is if you're paying quarterly taxes, you avoid that, right? That's the whole point of quarterly taxes, is to avoid that. So the point is you want to be paying a quarter approximately of your tax bill each quarter of the year. And if you've paid a quarter of your bill 4 times throughout the year, then what's left on April 15th? Nothing. That's the whole joy. Okay, so how do you do it? First of all, you're going to have to pay the existing tax bill, whatever that is, on April 15th. So that is due, and there's no getting around it. Now, you do have to settle that up. And on top of that, you're going to want to get on top of 2025's estimated quarterly tax payments, okay? So the 2024 bill is due, but also April 15th is a double deadline. On April 15th is your first quarterly tax payment. That's when it's due, okay? So you're going to be paying a quarter of last year's full total tax alongside the payment for last year's, the outstanding bill from your taxes from last year, okay? In other words, you're going to be paying 125% of the tax that you owed from last year, the whole tax, okay? So 100% is last year's bill, and then a quarter of that is an estimate for this current year, okay? So that is the most basic way to understand what you need to do to get out of this mess. But next week on the podcast, I'm going to talk about some nuance in how estimated quarterly taxes work to help you understand what you should be doing when last year's taxes are going to be very different from this year's tax, right? If you don't make the same income one year to the next, then paying your quarterly taxes can feel very difficult because, first of all, your taxes aren't going to be the same amount this year if your income was different this year, right? Your actual taxes will change. So what are you supposed to do in that shifting scenario where this year's money isn't like last year's money? How do you pay quarterly taxes then? You still have to. You absolutely have to. But how do you do it? So that's what we'll talk about next week, how to make those adjustments. But the broad strokes, gross summary for this week, if you want to just know the most basic version of how to get this done, you're going to pay off last year's tax bill, and I hope it's not the bill for the whole entire year, but maybe it is. You're going to pay that off. And then you're going to actually, and here I'm going to just walk you through real quick, like where to find the numbers. You're going to look at the tax return from this year, your 2024 taxes, right? So this is talking about what happened in 2024. That's what a tax return is. It's a reconciliation document where you settle up the taxes that you still owe or the refund that you get from 2024 here in the year 2025 after it's all happened, after after the events are over and you can tally it all up, okay? That's the point. So if you've never looked at that 2-page summary document at the beginning of your 1040, pull that out now and look at line 24, which is in the top of page 2, the section called taxes and credits. Line 24 is your total tax. That's the line that calculates all the tax that you owed on all the income you made last year. And keep in mind that this includes your spouse. This includes all types of income. So if you have an Airbnb, a farm, who knows? In addition to your self-employment, all the income will be totaled up, and the total tax is a total on all of that income, okay? So you're going to look at line 24. You're going to divide that number by 4, and that will give you a quarterly payment amount for 2025, okay? So look at line 24, divided by 4, and that gives you a payment amount for each quarter moving forward into 2025, okay? This is called a safe harbor rule. If you pay at least that amount all throughout 2025 on the deadlines, which are April 15th, June 15th, September 15th, and January 15th, if you pay that amount all through the year, you will not owe any penalties and any interest next year, which is awesome, okay? So that's what I want you to do. That is the easiest way to get on top of your estimated quarterly taxes. Next week, I'm going to put a little color on it, and we're going to talk about the less easy, but possibly much more accurate and humane way to pay your quarterly taxes if you didn't make the same amount of income this year that you made last year. All right. So I really hope that that has helped you just get a really quick and easy solution so that you can move forward and know that you are getting out of that hole, and that maybe this year will be painful at tax time, but next year at tax time, it's going to be easy because you're going to have a bill that is close to zero, which is the whole point. All right. I'm going to give you a quick reminder that BOI report, the beneficial ownership information report, if you have an LLC, is reinstated. The rules are back on. You have to do it, or starting March 22nd, you will start incurring $500 a day penalties. So if you want my free, very short, very easy class on how to get that information report done, you can get it at sunlighttax.com/LLC. And also, if you are a follower of Sunlight Tax and you saw that I had a free class on March 6th about making your taxes easier, about simple systems you can set up to make your taxes easier every year, then I want you to know that you can watch that class on demand if you missed it. All right. So if you're interested in checking out that class because you're feeling a little behind in your taxes and you're a little freaked out about how to get this all done, go watch that class on demand. It's really fun. It was really great. You can get it at go.sunlighttax.com/register. That's go.sunlighttax.com/register. I'll leave a link in the show notes, and I'll see you next week for the second part of your estimated quarterly taxes. Bye.
Thank you for watching. If you like this video, be sure to like, leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel. I'm so grateful for that. This video is for education and entertainment only. Nothing in this episode should be taken as individual tax or financial advice. You can find all the tools, books, and links I reference at sunlighttax.com/podcast.